Jin Lee slowly opened his eyes. Bright lights hurt, making him squint. His body felt cold and stiff as he tried to move inside the small pod. Something wasn't right. He should still be sleeping, frozen in cryosleep for the long journey to a new planet. Warning: system malfunction detected. A calm computer voice announced throughout the ship. Jin forced himself to sit up despite his aching muscles. His head pounded as he looked around the large room filled with hundreds of sleeping pods. Only his was open. The date on the nearby screen shocked him. They were only 23 years into their 125-year journey to Kepler 438 bits, humanity's new home among the stars. "Computer, what happened?" Jin asked, his voice rough from years of disuse. "Critical failure in cryosleep systems. 4 pods affected. Emergency wake protocol activated." Jin slowly climbed out of his pod, his legs weak. He was the commander of this mission, responsible for the safety of everyone aboard the colony ship Starlight. If there was a problem, he needed to fix it. "Who else is awake?" he asked. Chief Engineer Song Ji, Medical Officer Da Kim, and Communications Specialist Nara are being revived now. Jin found a water bottle and drank deeply. His uniform hung loosely on his frame. The side effect of years in cryosleep. He needed to see the other awakened crew members immediately. He made his way through silent corridors where the lights automatically brightened as he passed. The Starlight was enormous, designed to carry 2,000 colonists to their new home. Now, only 4 people were awake in this giant metal world. In the medical bay, Jin found Da Kim already examining equipment. She was a brilliant doctor with short black hair and serious eyes. Despite just waking from cryosleep herself, she moved with purpose. "Commander," she said when she saw him. "This is bad. Very bad." "How bad?" "The molecular stabilizers in our cryopods have completely failed. The damage is beyond repair." Before Jin could respond, the door opened. Song Ji entered, still wearing her cryosleep bodysuit. She was tall with an athletic build, her long hair tied back in a messy ponytail. As the ship's chief engineer, her skills would be crucial now. "I've checked the systems," she said without greeting. "We can't go back to sleep. The pods are dead." Jin felt the weight of this news. "What about the other colonists?" "Their pods are fine for now," Songji replied. "The failure only affected our 4 units, but we have another problem." The door opened again. This time, a figure unlike the others entered. Nara stood nearly 7 feet tall with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Her eyes were large and completely black, without pupils. As a representative from the Lyran Confederacy, she was the only non-human aboard the Starlight. "The communications array is non-functional," Nara stated, her voice musical yet somehow flat. "We cannot contact Earth or my homeworld." Jin looked at the 3 females now standing before him, the only companions he would have for the rest of his life. The situation was becoming clear. They were awake, couldn't return to cryosleep, and had a century of travel ahead before reaching their destination. "Let's go to the command center," Jin said. "We need to understand exactly what we're facing." The command center was a large room with windows that showed the endless blackness of space. Stars shone like distant diamonds against the darkness. Earth was now just a tiny blue dot, barely visible among them. Song Ji pulled up system diagnostics on the main screen. "The ship is functioning properly except for our cryopods and long-range communications. Life support is stable. Food production systems are operational. We have enough resources to live comfortably." "Comfortably?" Da laughed without humor. 4 people alone on this ship for 100 years. That's not comfort. That's a prison sentence. Jin studied the faces of his 3 companions. Songji looked angry, her hands clenched into fists. Day seemed afraid, though she was trying to hide it. Nara's alien features were harder to read, but she stood very still, watching the humans with her black eyes. "We need to accept our reality," Jin said firmly. "We're awake. We will live out our lives on this ship. Our mission now is to ensure the Starlight reaches its destination with the colonists safe. And how do we do that, Commander? Song-ji asked, her voice sharp with frustration. We'll be dead long before this ship arrives. We maintain the ship, Jin replied. We prepare everything for the colonists. We make this vessel our home and our purpose. Nera stepped forward. My species lives longer than humans. I will likely survive to see our arrival. I can ensure your work continues. A heavy silence fell over the room. Jin looked out at the stars again. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing they would leave behind everyone they knew on Earth. But they had expected to sleep through the journey, to wake at their destination. Now they faced decades confined together in this metal world. We should establish routines, Day suggested, breaking the silence. Regular meals, work schedules, exercise. Structure will help us adjust. Jin nodded. We'll need to assign sections of the ship as our personal quarters. The crew area is designed for 30 people, so we'll have plenty of space. I will require modifications to my living space, Nera said. Lyran physiology has different needs. I'll help with that, Song-ji offered, her anger seeming to fade as she focused on a practical problem to solve. Jin watched as the three females began discussing living arrangements. Despite the dire circumstances, they were already adapting, finding ways to move forward. Perhaps that was humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adjust, to find purpose even in the most unexpected situations. Later that night, Jin stood alone in the observation dome. Above him, countless stars filled the transparent ceiling. Somewhere ahead lay their destination, a new world they would never see. Behind them, Earth grew more distant by the second. Is this a prison or an opportunity? Nara's voice startled him. The Lyran moved silently despite her size. Jin considered her question. I don't know yet. In my culture, we have a concept called favored isolation. It means finding yourself in circumstances that appear limiting but actually allow for unexpected growth. Nara's black eyes reflected the starlight. Perhaps this is such a time. Jin looked at the alien female, then back at the stars. 4 people, 100 years, a ship filled with sleeping colonists depending on them. Maybe you're right, he said softly. Maybe this is paradise, and we just don't know it yet. 6 months passed aboard the Starlight. The ship hummed quietly as it moved through the emptiness of space, carrying its sleeping cargo of colonists and 4 very awake crew members. Jin woke early each morning in his quarters, which he had slowly made his own. Pictures he had drawn covered one wall. Small plants from the ship's garden sat in containers by his window. He had created a home in this metal room. Today marked half a year since they had awakened from cryosleep. Jin stretched and dressed in his uniform, still maintaining military discipline despite their unusual situation. Good morning, Commander, said the ship's computer. Current ship status is normal. All systems functioning within parameters. Jin walked to the dining area where Dai already sat drinking tea. She nodded as he entered. Song-ji is checking the water recycling system, Daz said, and Nera is meditating in the observatory. Jin poured himself coffee from the machine. The beans were grown in the ship's agricultural section, one of many systems designed to sustain the colonists when they eventually reached their new home. Any problems I should know about? Jin asked. Nothing new, Dae replied, though I think we need to discuss Song-ji. Jin sat down across from Da. What about her? She's been working too hard. 16 hours yesterday, 14 the day before. Dae's medical training made her attentive to the crew's health. She's pushing herself too far. Before Jin could respond, Song-ji herself entered the room. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, but she moved with energy. The recycling system is running at 98% efficiency now, she announced proudly. I found a way to reduce the mineral buildup in the filters. Jin studied her. Sit down. Eat something. Song-ji hesitated, but then grabbed a fruit from the bowl on the table and sat down. I have plans to improve the air circulation system next. The eastern residential section gets too humid. You need to rest, Da said firmly. Doctor's orders. There's too much work to do, Song-ji protested. Jin leaned forward. We have 100 years of work ahead of us. Burning out in the first 6 months won't help anyone. Song-ji looked away. I need to stay busy. If I stop working, I start thinking about Earth, about everyone I left behind, about how they'll all be dead by the time this ship reaches its destination. Silence fell over the table. They all carried similar thoughts. Perhaps you humans focus too much on what is lost, said Nara, entering the room quietly despite her tall frame. My people believe in embracing the path before us rather than mourning the path behind. Easy for you to say, Song-ji muttered. Your family will still be alive when we arrive. Not necessarily. Something different today, a break from routine. An idea formed in his mind. Let's explore the ship. There are sections none of us have visited yet. Day looked surprised. Explore? We have maps of the entire vessel. Maps aren't the same as seeing places ourselves, Jin said. There are recreation areas, viewing lounges, specialized labs. Let's discover something new. To Jin's surprise, they all agreed. After breakfast, the four set out together. They took a transport tube to the forward sections of the massive colony ship, areas designed for use after arrival. They found an entertainment center with virtual reality systems, game tables, and a small theater. Nara was fascinated by the human games, examining chess pieces with her long, slender fingers. This one requires strategic thinking, she observed, moving a knight across the board. We have similar games, though ours are three-dimensional. Song-ji challenged Nara to a match while Jin and Da explored further. They discovered a music room with various instruments waiting silently for colonists who wouldn't awaken for a century. Do you play? Da asked, touching a piano keyboard gently. Not really, Jin admitted. My mother wanted me to learn violin as a child, but I was more interested in spacecraft models. Da sat at the piano, and to Jin's surprise, began to play a beautiful, sad melody. Her fingers moved across the keys with practiced ease. I didn't know you could play, Jin said when she finished. There are many things we don't know about each other, Da replied with a small smile. We have time to learn. Later, they found an observation lounge with a spectacular view of space. The transparent dome above showed stars stretching into infinity. It's beautiful, Song-ji whispered, her earlier irritability forgotten as she stared upward. Nara touched the transparent material. My people believe stars are the eyes of ancestors watching over us. What do they see when they look at us? Jin wondered aloud. 4 people, alone in the vastness of space. They see life continuing, Nara answered. They see adaptation. They stayed in the observation lounge for hours, talking more openly than they had in the months since awakening. Song-ji spoke of her family's farm in the countryside. Dai shared stories of medical school. Nara described Lyran cities with their spiraling crystal towers. Jin talked about his dreams of space since childhood. As artificial night fell on the ship, an alarm suddenly blared through the peaceful atmosphere. Warning! Micrometeoroid impact detected. Hull breach in agricultural section 3. They raced to the damaged area, finding a small hole where a space rock had punctured the outer hull. Plants were being sucked toward the breach as air escaped. Emergency shields failing. The computer announced, oxygen depletion in progress. Song-ji ran to a control panel. The automatic repair system isn't responding. Jin assessed the situation quickly. Nara, get the emergency patch kit from the wall. Da, help me gather these plants before they're destroyed. The 4 worked together seamlessly. Nara's height allowed her to reach the breach, applying a temporary seal while Song-ji rerouted power to strengthen it. Jin and Da saved what plants they could, knowing how precious each growing thing was to their closed ecosystem. When it was over, they sat exhausted on the floor of the agricultural bay, surrounded by damaged plants and repair equipment. "We did well," Jin said, looking at his three companions with new respect. "All of us." Song-ji nodded, her expression thoughtful. "We make a good team." "Better than good," Dai added. "We just saved our food supply and prevented a major disaster." Nara's alien face showed something like pride. "Among my people, surviving crisis together creates bonds stronger than family." Jin looked around at the three females, each different, each vital to their survival. Perhaps Nara had been right. This wasn't just about adaptation. It was about finding something new and unexpected in their shared isolation. "Let's have dinner together," Jin suggested. "In the observation lounge. We can watch the stars while we eat." As they made their way back, Jin realized something had changed. The ship no longer felt like a prison. It was becoming a home. 10 years passed on the Starlight. 10 years of routines, discoveries, and growing familiarity among the four awakened travelers. The ship continued its silent journey through space, carrying its sleeping colonists and its four very conscious caretakers. Jin stood in the hydroponics bay, watching Song-ji adjust the nutrient flow to a new variety of tomato plants she had developed. Her hair now contained a few strands of gray, though she was still strong and energetic. Over the years, her engineering skills had expanded to include botany and genetics as they all learned to fill multiple roles. "These should produce 30% more fruit than the original strain," Song-ji explained, not looking up from her work. "With better vitamin content, too." "Impressive," Jin said. He hesitated before adding, "Have you thought about my proposal for the communications array?" Song-ji's hands stopped moving. Her shoulders tensed. "We've discussed this already." "No, you dismissed it without real discussion," Jin countered, trying to keep his voice level. "The auxiliary system could be modified to..." "To what?" "Send messages that won't reach Earth for decades. Receive replies from people who might not even be alive anymore." Song-ji turned to face him, frustration clear in her eyes. "It's a waste of resources. It's about maintaining connection with humanity," Jin insisted, "about not being completely cut off. We have 2,000 humans right here." Song-ji gestured toward the cryosleep chambers several decks below. "Our job is to keep them safe, not chase ghosts from our past." Their argument was interrupted by Day entering the hydroponics bay. She moved more carefully now, the result of a back injury from 3 years earlier. "I could hear you two shouting from the corridor," she said with disapproval. Again, Jin and Song-ji fell silent. These disagreements had become more frequent lately, not just between them, but among all four crew members. 10 years of isolation had created deep bonds, but also points of friction that couldn't be avoided. "Where's Nora?" Jin asked, changing the subject. "Observatory," Day replied. "She says there's something unusual about the star patterns ahead." They found Nara standing before the large viewing window. The Lyran had changed the least physically over the decade, her silver skin showing minimal signs of aging. She pointed to a section of space that appeared darker than the surrounding area. "There's something there," she said without turning around. "Something that shouldn't be there." Jin studied the area, but saw nothing unusual. "The sensors don't show anything." "Because they're not calibrated to detect it," Nara insisted. "My people have encountered similar phenomena before. It's a spatial anomaly, a thin spot between dimensions." Song-ji looked skeptical. "If that's true, is it dangerous?" "Potentially," Nara replied. "At our current speed and trajectory, we will pass directly through it in approximately 72 hours. Day frowned. "Can we go around it?" "The main engines aren't designed for that kind of precise maneuvering," Song-ji said. "We'd need to use the shuttle's thrusters to push the entire ship onto a new course." "That could damage the shuttle beyond repair," Jin pointed out. "We might need it later." "I could pilot the shuttle alone," Nora offered. "My reflexes are faster than humans." "No," Jin said firmly. "I won't risk any of you." Song-ji crossed her arms. So what's your plan, Commander? Fly straight into unknown danger. I'll take the shuttle myself, Jin decided. I'll use it to push us onto a new course, then dock before we reach the anomaly. The three females exchanged glances. That's too dangerous, Da protested. It's my decision, Jin replied. We'll begin preparations immediately. 2 days later, Jin sat in the small shuttlecraft as it separated from the starlight. Through the viewport, he could see the massive colony ship, his home for the past decade and likely for the rest of his life. Shuttle is clear, he reported through the communication link. Beginning thruster sequence. Be careful, Song-ji's voice came through. She had argued against his plan until the last moment. Jin positioned the shuttle perpendicular to the starlight's hull. Using the powerful maneuvering thrusters, he began pushing against the larger vessel, gradually changing its course. The shuttle shuddered with the strain. Thruster temperature increasing beyond safe parameters. The shuttle's computer warned. Just a little longer, Jin muttered. Suddenly, a flash of light erupted from the direction of the anomaly. The shuttle systems flickered as an energy wave hit them. Jin. Day's voice crackled through the damaged communication system. The anomaly is becoming active. Get back to the ship now. Jin fired the return thrusters, but the shuttle responded sluggishly. Another wave of energy washed over him, stronger than the first. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. Life support failing, the computer announced. Hull integrity compromised. Jin fought to control the damaged shuttle, guiding it toward the starlight's docking bay. His vision began to blur as oxygen levels dropped. With his remaining strength, he engaged the automatic docking sequence and hoped it would be enough. He awoke in the medical bay with Dai leaning over him, her face tight with concern. "Welcome back," she said, relief evident in her voice. "You've been unconscious for 16 hours. Jin tried to sit up, but found he couldn't move his right arm. The ship. Safe, Dai assured him. Your crazy plan worked. We're on a new course that will miss the anomaly. And the shuttle. Damaged beyond repair, Song-ji said from the doorway. She entered the room, followed by Nara. But it got you back to us, which is what matters. Jin looked at the three females gathered around his bed. Something had changed in their expressions, a softness that hadn't been there before. You risked your life for us, Nara stated simply. My people believe such actions create soul bonds that cannot be broken. That night, after Jin was released from the medical bay, they gathered in the observation lounge. The stars looked different from their new course, a reminder of how close they had come to disaster. I need to say something, Song-ji began hesitantly. These past 10 years, I've been fighting against feelings that I thought were inappropriate given our situation. Jin looked at her with surprise. We're the only people awake on this ship, Song-ji continued. We'll live out our lives together. Pretending we're just colleagues seems pointless now. I feel the same, Dai admitted quietly. Watching Jin nearly die made me realize how foolish it is to deny what we all know is happening between us. Nara stepped forward. In my culture, bonds between multiple individuals are honored and celebrated. There is no right configuration for family, only what brings harmony and strength to all involved. Jin looked at the three beautiful, intelligent females who had shared this journey with him. They had moved beyond friendship, beyond collegiality, into something none of them had words for yet. So what happens now? He asked. We stop pretending, Song-ji answered. We acknowledge what we feel for each other. We create our own rules for living, Dai added. We become what we are meant to be, Nara finished. Under the canopy of stars, the four moved closer together, their hands reaching for one another. What had begun as a prison sentence had transformed into something none of them could have imagined. A new kind of family, forged in isolation, but built on choice. The starlight continued its journey through the darkness, carrying not just sleeping colonists but four souls now bound together in ways that defied traditional understanding. Their conflict had led to connection. Their isolation had created intimacy. 50 years had passed since Jin, Songji died, and Nara had awakened from cryosleep. The starlight continued its journey through the darkness between stars, now nearly halfway to its destination. Inside the massive ship, the four travelers had created a world of their own. Jin sat in the command center, his once black hair now completely white. At 78, his movements had slowed, but his mind remained sharp. He studied the sensor readings with growing concern. "Computer, confirm these readings," he requested. "Confirmed," the ship's AI responded. "Unknown object detected at coordinates 227 Mark 44. Size, approximately 3 kilometers in length. Composition, metallic and organic materials." Jin activated the ship's communication system. "Everyone to the command center. We have a situation." Within minutes, the others arrived. Songji moved with the help of a cane, her engineering brilliance undiminished by age. Day's medical skills had kept them all relatively healthy despite the limitations of their environment. Nara showed fewer signs of aging than the humans, though silver streaks now marked her once uniformly gray skin. "What is it?" Songji asked, looking at the main screen. "A ship," Jin replied simply. "A massive one. And it's not from Earth or the Lyran Confederacy." They all stared at the image. The unknown vessel drifted silently in space, its strange design unlike anything in their databases. "No power signatures," Songji noted, examining the sensor data. "It appears to be derelict." "Are there life signs?" Dai asked. "None detected," Jin answered. "It seems abandoned." Nara stepped closer to the screen, her eyes narrowing. "I have never seen this design, but something about it seems familiar." She turned to Jin. "We should investigate. It could be dangerous," Dai cautioned. Jin considered their options. After 50 years of routine maintenance and predictable days, the appearance of this mysterious ship represented something new, perhaps even something valuable. "We'll take the exploration pod," he decided. "All of us." "All of us?" Songji questioned. "Shouldn't someone stay with the starlight?" "The computer can handle things for a few hours," Jin said. "I want everyone's expertise on this." They prepared carefully. Though they had maintained the ship's weapons systems, they had never expected to use them. Now Jin distributed laser cutters and communication devices to each person. "Stay together at all times," he instructed as they boarded the small exploration pod. "We go in, we look around, we leave. No risks." The journey to the alien vessel took 30 minutes. As they approached, they could see damage to its hull, large sections torn open to the vacuum of space. "Something attacked this ship," Songjai observed grimly. They found a docking port that matched their pod's universal connector. A stroke of luck, or perhaps evidence that the ship's builders followed similar engineering principles to humans and Lyrans. Inside, emergency lights on their suits illuminated dark corridors. The architecture was strange. Angles that seemed slightly wrong, doorways too tall and narrow for human comfort. "The air is gone, but there's no radiation," Day reported, checking her scanner. "It should be safe to explore if we stay in our suits." They moved deeper into the abandoned vessel. Signs of violence were everywhere, scorch marks on walls, equipment destroyed, and then they found the first bodies. "These creatures," Jin said, examining the remains of a being unlike any he had seen before. They had 6 limbs, exoskeletons. "They were massacred," Da whispered, looking around at the numerous bodies floating in the zero gravity. Nara knelt beside one of the dead aliens. "These markings on their exoskeletons, they indicate a hive society, similar to some species known to my people." "What happened here?" Songji wondered aloud. They continued their exploration, finding their way to what appeared to be the ship's command center. There, Jin discovered a still-functioning data terminal. "Songji, can you access this?" he asked. She examined the alien technology. "Maybe. The interface is strange, but I think I can adapt our translator to communicate with it." While Songji worked, the others explored the command center. Nara found what appeared to be a star map, showing a trajectory that would intersect with their own. This ship was headed in the same direction we are, she realized, toward Kepler 438 bits. Why? Jin wondered. What's so special about that planet? Before anyone could answer, Songji called out, I got something. Visual records from the ship's final hours. They gathered around the terminal as grainy images appeared. They showed another vessel approaching the high ship, sleek, black, predatory in design. There was no warning. Songji translated from the alien text. They came aboard and took what they wanted. They killed anyone who resisted. What did they take? Jin asked. Songji worked the controls, navigation data, star charts, and... She paused, her expression grim. Information about suitable colony worlds, including Kepler 438 bits. A chill ran through the group. Their destination. The planet where 2,000 sleeping humans waited to build a new home was known to whoever had attacked this ship. We need to leave, Daz said urgently. If the attackers return. An alarm from their pod interrupted her. Warning. Unknown vessel approaching. Estimated arrival. 20 minutes. They're back, Jin said, feeling a surge of adrenaline despite his age. We need to get to the pod. They moved as quickly as their aged bodies allowed, retracing their steps through the alien corridors. Behind them, they heard sounds, metal against metal, the whisper of atmosphere being released as something forced its way into the derelict ship. They're boarding already, Songji gasped as they finally reached their pod. How is that possible? They sealed themselves inside and disengaged from the alien vessel. Through the viewport, they caught a glimpse of figures moving within the derelict ship. Tall, shadow-like beings that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Get us back to the starlight, Jin ordered. Maximum speed. The pod raced through space, but halfway to their ship, sensors showed the alien vessel had powered up and was pursuing them. They're faster than we are, Songjai reported grimly. They'll catch us before we reach the starlight. Jin looked at his three companions, the women who had shared his life for 50 years. They had faced isolation, system failures, and cosmic anomalies together. Now they faced an enemy intent on destroying them. I have an idea, he said, but it's risky. When has that ever stopped us? Day replied with a smile. Jin explained his plan quickly. They would use the pod's remaining fuel in one massive burst, propelling themselves toward the starlight faster than the aliens could follow. It might damage the pod beyond repair, but it would get them home. Do it, Nara agreed. We cannot allow them to reach the colonists. Songji programmed the engine sequence. Ready on your command. Jin took one last look at the advancing alien ship. In 50 years aboard the Starlight, they had created a family unlike any other. They had adapted, loved, and built a life together. He would not let it end here. Now, he ordered. The pod shot forward as its engines released all their energy at once. Behind them, the alien vessel attempted to match their sudden acceleration, but couldn't react in time. Minutes later, the pod crashed into the Starlight's main docking bay, damaged but intact. Seal all access points, Jin commanded as they rushed to the ship's control center. Activate defensive systems. For the first time in 50 years, the Starlight's weapons came online. The ship had been designed to protect its precious cargo of colonists from any threat. As the alien vessel approached, the Starlight was ready. The four aged caretakers worked together with perfect coordination, born from decades of shared life. When the aliens attempted to dock, they found sealed ports. When they tried to breach the hull, they met reinforced shields. Finally, after 12 tense hours, the alien ship retreated, moving away into the darkness of space. They'll be back, Songji said, watching the vessel disappear from their sensors. Maybe with reinforcements. Then we'll be ready, Jin replied, looking at the three women who had become his family. Together, The final decades aboard the Starlight passed more slowly than the earlier years. Jin, Songji, and Dai felt the weight of time in their aging bodies. Even Nara, with her longer-lived Lyran physiology, showed signs of age. The four companions had spent most of their lives together on this journey through the stars. Jin sat in his favorite chair in the observation lounge, watching distant stars drift past. At 85, his hands shook slightly, and white hair covered his head like snow. He used a cane to walk now, but still made daily rounds through the ship, checking on critical systems. "There you are," Dai said, entering the lounge. Her medical skills had kept them all alive far longer than might have been expected in such isolation, but even she couldn't stop the natural process of aging. "Songjai is looking for you." "Is something wrong with the ship?" Jin asked, immediately concerned. Dai smiled. "No, she has a surprise for you." Curious, Jin followed Dai through the corridors of the Starlight. The ship had changed over the decades, modified to suit their needs rather than those of the original mission planners. Artwork covered walls that had once been bare metal. Gardens flourished in spaces designed for storage. The four of them had made the massive vessel truly their home. They found Songjai in the engineering section, bent over a workbench. Despite her arthritis, her hands remained remarkably steady when working with machinery. She looked up as they entered, her face creasing with a smile that Jin still found beautiful after all these years. "I finished it," she announced proudly, holding up a small device. "The Colony Orientation Program." Jin took the device gently. "You really did it." For the past 5 years, they had been preparing for the inevitable, the time when the Starlight would reach Kepler 438 bits and the colonists would awaken. None of the 4 original awakened crew members expected to live that long. They would die decades before arrival. But they had devoted their final years to ensuring the mission's success. "It contains everything they'll need to know," Songjai explained. "Technical specifications, maintenance records, resource management plans, and our personal logs," Dai added. "Our stories." Jin nodded, feeling the weight of the small device in his hand. "Where's Nara?" "In the cryobay," Dai replied, checking on the colonists. They found Nara moving slowly between the rows of sleeping pods, her tall frame slightly stooped now. Inside each pod, a human floated in suspended animation, unaware that nearly a century had passed since their journey began. "The revival systems are fully operational," Nara reported. "When the ship reaches orbit around Kepler 438 bits, they will begin awakening automatically. And we added the modifications to wake them in smaller groups," Songji said, "just as we planned." Jin looked at the sleeping faces, untouched by time. "They have no idea what awaits them, or what we've done to get them there safely." That evening, the 4 gathered for dinner in the observation lounge, as had become their tradition. Through the large windows, they could see a bright star growing steadily larger, the sun around which Kepler 438 bits orbited. They were still years away from arrival, but the destination was finally visible. "I've been thinking," Dai said as they ate, "about what happens after we're gone." No one spoke for a moment. They had lived with this reality for decades, but rarely discussed it directly. "The ship will continue," Nara said finally. "The AI will maintain course. The colonists will wake. Life will go on. But they won't know us," Songji said softly. "Not really. Not as we were." Jin reached out, taking her hand. Over the years, their relationship had evolved into something beyond traditional definitions. The 4 of them had become a single unit, a family formed by circumstance, but held together by choice. "They'll know what matters," he assured her, "through our logs, our work, the changes we made to the ship." Dai raised her glass. "To the colonists. May they build something worthy of our sacrifice." "And to us," Nara added, "to what we created here." In the months that followed, Jin's health began to fail. Despite Dai's best efforts, his heart grew weaker. On a quiet day nearly 73 years after they had awakened from cryosleep, Jin Lee closed his eyes for the final time, surrounded by the three women who had shared his extraordinary life. Song-ji followed 6 months later, her brilliant mind finally at rest. Dae recorded every detail of their medical conditions, hoping the information might help future generations understand the effects of long-term space habitation on human physiology. When Da herself died the following year, Nera was left alone. As the sole survivor, the Lyran continued their work, maintaining the ship's systems and preparing for the colonists' eventual awakening. For 3 more years, Nera walked the corridors of the Starlight alone. She spoke aloud to her departed companions as if they could still hear her. She tended the gardens they had planted together. She recorded her own thoughts about the unique bond they had shared. "I believe," she said in her final log entry, "that what we four created aboard this ship was something entirely new. Not just a social arrangement, but a template for how different beings can live together in harmony. The humans who awaken will find not just a functioning ship, but a blueprint for a different kind of society." When Nara finally joined her companions in death, the Starlight continued its journey, guided by the programs they had created and the systems they had maintained. For 15 more years, the ship traveled silently through space, carrying its precious cargo of sleeping humans and the legacy of 4 remarkable individuals. As the Starlight finally approached Kepler 438 bits, the ship's systems began the awakening sequence. The first colonists opened their eyes to find a vessel very different from the one they remembered boarding. Gardens flourished throughout the ship. Artwork decorated the walls. And most surprisingly, they discovered detailed logs and messages from 4 people who had lived entire lives aboard the ship while they slept. "They called themselves the Guardians," said the colony leader as she addressed the first group of awakened colonists. "They sacrificed everything to bring us here safely, and they left us something more valuable than this ship or even this new world." She held up the device Song-jae had created decades earlier. "They left us a new way of living. A blueprint for a society based not on old Earth models, but on what they discovered together. 3 humans and 1 Lyran, isolated in space, who turned what might have been a prison into a paradise." As the colonists began establishing their new home on Kepler 438 bits, they named their first settlement Paradise, in honor of the 4 who had made their journey possible. In the center of the settlement, they built a memorial. 4 figures standing together, looking up at the stars. The plaque beneath it read simply, "Jin, Song-ji, Dae, and Nara. They showed us that paradise is not a place, but the connections we build with one another." In the night sky above the colony, the Starlight orbited silently, a constant reminder of the extraordinary journey and the 4 remarkable souls who had lived, loved, and created a legacy that would shape humanity's future among the stars. The end.